Hello listeners, Jordan here. I just want to let you know that you can listen to Nighttime early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
You are listening to the Nighttime Podcast.
Hello listeners. Tonight's episode is going to take us to a rural road on Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, and back to July of 2019. Then 10-year-old Talia Forrest was enjoying a summer evening with her friend, riding their bikes along Black Rock Road. It was Talia's friend who first noticed the oncoming vehicle. Even in the distance, it seemed to be driving erratically, passing back and forth across the center line. The two children stopped riding their bikes and stood on the shoulder of the road waiting for it to pass. But as it did, it again crossed the center line and collided with Talia. But the car didn't stop. It continued on, dragging Talia's bike with it for over a kilometer. A tip made to police would lead them to a local man, 27-year-old Colin Tweedie. Initially, his story was that his girlfriend was driving, but his story has changed many times since then. The constant is that he believed the very much loved 10-year-old girl he killed was a deer, and that's why he didn't stop. But Colin Tweedie isn't the only one who didn't stop. Talia's loved ones and their army of supporters have not stopped demanding justice for Talia. And that's a whole other side of this story with its own tragedies baked in. And tonight, we're going to get into all of it. Our guest is Talia's family spokesperson, Halen Williams, who's going to join us and discuss their demand for justice for Talia Forrest.
Today, several RCMP officers told the court they noticed a pair of flip-flops and a bicycle tire on the road when they arrived at the scene. Two officers told the court they could smell alcohol on Tweedie's breath after they arrived at his family's residence the night of the incident. Corporal James Jessam told the court a gray Nissan Xterra was also found in the yard with significant damage. Both driver and passenger airbags were deployed, and two beer cans were on the floor inside the vehicle. As part of an agreed statement of facts, DNA matching the victim was discovered on Tweedie's vehicle after it was seized by police.
Just to start, Halen, why don't you give me a bit of introduction on who you are and where you are and what your connection to Talia's case is?
I am Halen Williams, cousin of Talia Forrest. I was more of a sister to her. I watched her grow up since she was a little baby right until she was 10 years old. I'm in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. When it happened, I was living in Halifax at the time. And then I moved back down after to help get justice for her.
And at this point, people who follow Talia's story, they'll know your name and your face as you're serving as the family spokesperson. How did that happen? Is there some reason that you became the family spokesperson?
It's difficult for the family to talk. It's very hard for them, so I do it for them. And I was really close with Talia, so she would want me to speak for her.
I want to stop you and ask you one thing. You're clutching a bear that I've seen on the news a few times. What is this Talia's bear? What is this bear?
This bear is made out of Talia's favorite pajamas that she always used to wear.
Okay.
Yeah, it helps me get through things.
Okay, and you keep you've been on the news holding that bear. Do you keep it with you?
Well, sometimes during stuff like this, that's when I take it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That when and how did you have that made? Where did that come? Where did the idea come from?
My aunt gave it to me as a gift for always speaking and for my birthday one year.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You've described her as being like a sister. You're very close to her. Tell me about your relationship with her. Of course, you're quite a few years older than her, so like an older sister. But tell me about your time with Talia and how you would amuse yourselves together.
I would watch her babysit her all the time. Her and her little brother. She would always love to go on walks. We'd go to the store. She'd love to enjoy the outdoors. She loved the outdoors.
She grew up in at least where the incident happened is a rural road, on the outside of the towns in Cape Breton. Did you grow up in that area? And in the area that the incident happened, is that where she would have grown up as well? I'm just trying to picture her comfort level biking down, a remote road.
Well, she was just trying to enjoy her summer. She was out at her friend's house. She was staying at a friend's house at the time, and They had a good summer day. Their mother took them out. They went swimming. They had pizza. They went to a beach and waterfalls. And after that, that's when they came home and the
And
tragedy
yeah,
happened.
you would have been in Halifax at the time that this is happening. But for you yourself, how did you learn that something had happened to your little cousin, little sister, Talia?
So I was actually babysitting for my sister because I was living up in Halifax with my older
Mhm,
sister. So I was
mhm,
babysitting my two nieces
mhm,
at the time. My sister said that she got a call because she was with my cousin, her older sister, Talia's older sister at the time,
mhm,
and they got a call that Talia was in an accident. She got hit by a car, and so Talia's sister and my sister went over to her house because they only
mhm.
lived a couple houses over at the time.
Okay.
So we'd always be over her house all the time. We'd always be hanging out. Um,
Mhm,
so my sister had to go over there and babysit Trey at the time, the little brother, because the incident happened and all the family wanted to go to see what happened.
mhm.
And that's when she told me that after a while she had passed away.
Okay. And I'm sure like immediately you're making plans. You're in Halifax making plans at that point to get home to Cape Breton and
Yes.
support your family and take part in grieving. Now, when a child dies, Talia's only 10 years old when this happens. When you hear a child dying, getting hit by a car, my mind goes to something like, they were chasing a ball out into the street or something like that, like this kind of freak accident. But in Talia's case, from the very beginning, it comes out that there's much more to this than a tragic accident. And the only people who think it is an accident is the person who is driving the vehicle and their close circle of supporters. So maybe tell me a bit about the 27-year-old driver, Colin Tweedie, and the circumstances of the actual incident that leads to her death. And maybe even if you can go a step further and kind of let me know how this information came to your family that it was, something so horrific that happened to her.
Well, Talia and Talia's friend they were driving their bikes southbound on Black Rock Road.
Mhm,
They're just going up and down the road. They have a community mailbox that's close to Talia's friend's house.
mhm.
So they were just going for like the bike ride up to their mailboxes and back.
Okay. And like I've seen photos of Black Rock Road. This is of like for as someone in Halifax, I'd consider it a pretty rural road. Like there are homes on it, of course, but it's just like kind of a long stretch of road with gravel on each side.
Yeah.
It would be something when I look at it, I'm like, that would be a safe place for a couple kids to drive their bike on the
Yeah.
side of the road.
Especially when there's a sign saying children playing, slow down, right?
Yeah, and that's one kind of cruel aspect of this is where is eventually hit is very close to a sign saying
Yeah.
children playing, slow down.
Yeah. But so they were driving their bikes and then they were driving back to go back home. And
Mhm.
then Talia's friend had them stopped on the side of the road because there's a car coming back and forth.
Like kind of going from lane to lane so that
Yeah, it's lane to lane.
Mhm.
So she told Talia to stop. So they stopped their bikes. They were on the shoulder of the road,
Okay.
on the gravel part. And he crossed the yellow line, and that's when he collided with Talia.
Mhm. If he was in his lane, there would have been a full open lane between where they were and where he would have been driving because they were facing him coming towards them. They stopped with the plan, I guess, of just like, what's up with this car driving
Car, yeah.
erratically? Yeah, let's let it pass.
Let's let us pass, and then we'll keep going.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And that's when she turned around and Talia was not there.
And it's in this case, like we'll get a bit into it, but it's more than just a collision. He does collide with Talia. His airbags go off in his car, but he doesn't stop, and this will become a big part of the trial against him. What
Yes.
after he collides with Talia, what does he do, or what has come out about his what he did after that?
So he continues on home because he didn't want to break down on the side of his road.
At least that's what
Because
he says. Is
yes,
my car was damaged, the airbags are off, but I didn't want to stop because I was worried my car wouldn't start again.
yes, on his own road, yeah.
Okay. My understanding is that when he continued on towards his house, he Talia's bike went a good majority of the way with him, like was like caught under his car.
Yes. 2.5 kilometers, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, from the scene. It was a while from the scene.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
that also becomes like I just think when I imagine this incident, driving a car, your airbags go off, you have a bike trapped under it, yet you
Yeah.
continue to drive.
Drive.
This happens, he leaves. Talia is hit and injured, and her friend, I guess, is left to be the one to get help. What
Get
is
help. Yeah.
how does she call for help? I'm thinking as like a 10-year-old, I would have no idea what to do.
Yeah. She said she was frantically calling for help. The girl that witnessed seeing her
Mhm.
said that it would seem like they were being chased by somebody. She
Okay.
thought that they were being chased, so she told her to come over, and then that's when she found out what happened, and that was a hit and run,
Mhm.
and that's when they went to try to look for Talia because they couldn't find her.
Wow. She was found in the area, but just like I believe up on a lawn, like
Yeah, on a lawn in an embankment. Yeah.
I don't know how involved you would have been in this, but was there any moments that looked like she was going to pull through?
No, she died instantly from impact.
Oh, okay.
She died right on spot.
She did. Okay. Now, again, we'll get into this a bit more when we get into the trials, but Colin Tweedie leaves. He drives home and parks his vehicle. What does he do? What does he do next? Because my understanding is at some point he kind of like returns to the scene. What is his timeline of on this night? And again, we're talking about the night of July 11th, 2019. The incident happened in the evening. He drives home, dragging her bike a good percentage of the way. What does he do the rest of the night?
Once that happens, he gets out and tells the girlfriend to come out and look at the damage. That's what he's told the police, that he told her to come out and look at the damage. And then, and I guess that's at the time they were going back to the scene
Mhm.
to see if the deer was suffering. That's what they told police.
Mhm. Yeah, so and I'm assuming they walk back like they just his version of the story is that he believed he hit a deer and that's why he kept on going. So they walked back to see if the deer was there.
Yeah.
And I believe it's at this point that they connect with the police and
Yes.
things progress.
But just before that time, that's when Leah Luker would have called them.
Okay.
Leah Luker is actually she's the one that told the police where to find Colin's vehicle because she was at the house when they were playing darts and before he left.
Okay.
She seen him playing darts and drinking. So she called and said that was Colin involved in the hit and run? And then Leah didn't tell her. And then she called back again and she knew it was Colin. So she said that she was telling the police everything. And she wasn't going to be friends with Beth anymore because she's telling the police all that she knew.
Wow.
And that's when Leah went and told the police that where to find Colin's car.
Okay, listeners, I want to pull you out of the conversation here for a moment as I want to better elaborate on this part of the timeline as it gets quite complicated. Here's the short version. Just before the collision with Talia, Colin Tweedie was playing darts and drinking beer in a friend named David Edwards' barn. David's girlfriend, Leah Luker, arrived home shortly before Colin Tweedie left the place. And then, not long after Colin left, a series of sirens and emergency vehicles passed the area. Leah was concerned, and since David Edwards, Colin's friend, was a firefighter, Leah asked him to check his work pager and see what was happening. And that's when she learned a 10-year-old girl was just struck in a hit and run up the street. Leah Luker had seen Colin with a beer in his hand just moments before he left in his vehicle, again going in the same direction the girl was hit. Leah then made several calls to Colin's cell phone to see if he was involved. Initially, there was no answer, but eventually, Colin's girlfriend Beth, who was Leah's best friend at the time, answered and denied Colin was involved. But Leah could sense something, and, well, she then contacted the police and provided Colin's name and address. That call resulted in the arrest of Tweedie and the end of the friendship between Leah and Tweedie's girlfriend, Beth Hart. So I hope that's all clear. And let's get back to the episode and hear about Colin Tweedie's arrest and charges.
It was on July 11th, 2019, that 10-year-old Talia Forrest was struck and killed by a vehicle while riding her bicycle with a friend. It happened on Black Rock Road in Victoria County. 30-year-old Colin Tweedie has pleaded not guilty to charges of impaired driving causing death, dangerous driving causing death, leaving the scene of an accident, and resisting arrest. Shortly after the first break in today's testimony, Tweedie pleaded guilty to a charge of obstructing a police officer, initially telling police his girlfriend was driving. It's been an emotional time for family and friends of the victim, who have attended several court dates seeking justice for the child.
We'll talk about the obstruction charge first, because when and again, I should say we're going to be talking about two trials here, but during the first trial, almost as soon as it starts, he will plead guilty to that one of the four charges, the obstruction of justice. And where that charge stems from is, it said that, well, I shouldn't say it said that because he's pleads guilty to it, but he led police to believe initially that he wasn't the one driving, that his girlfriend was driving. And I just think for someone who, like, even given what we've heard so far in our talk, when the guy driving the vehicle says someone else is driving and he was maybe drinking beforehand, it's like already I know everything I need to know about what happened in this guy's character. It's just so disgusting to hear this.
Just the whole trial. It's crazy to go through it all.
We've already heard his explanation for why he didn't stop and what he thought had happened. His claim is that he had a beer, but he wasn't intoxicated. Driving home, he believed he hit a deer, and he continued driving because he didn't want to stop and risk his car breaking down. And I believe he had a bit of an explanation as far as why he thought it was a deer. Like, did he not say?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
he thought his father hit one a few weeks prior.
Okay.
And that he thought that he seen the deer jump out of the ditch.
Okay. All right. So, like, I'm just shocked at the result of the first trial, given this defense. The trial has a very disappointing end.
Chaos erupted in the courtroom shortly after a Cape Breton man was found not guilty in the driving death of a 10-year-old girl. Sheriffs restrained one man as he appeared to lunge at the accused. Police quickly detained him and took him away in handcuffs.
I'm heartbroken. We just spent 2.5 years fighting for justice for my little sister, and we're not getting it.
Outside court, 30-year-old Colin Tweedie was escorted quickly away by police and sheriffs. He was found not guilty on charges of impaired driving causing death, dangerous driving causing death, and leaving the scene of an accident.
No one could believe it. It's insane. We're all angry and sad.
In her decision today, Justice Mona Lynch said she accepted that Tweedie believed he hit a deer and did not know he hit a person, and based on all circumstances acquitted the accused. The Crown was surprised by the verdict, but knew going in there were legal issues.
The legal issues were specific to each individual count. So, for example, with the over 80 charge of impaired alcohol, she was looking at the expert evidence as well as the exact evidence of driving or of drinking surrounding the driving incident.
Talia's family is hoping the verdict will be appealed.
It's devastating that Talia's not here. We don't get to see her first prom. We don't get to see her first boyfriend.
A decision today that, no matter the outcome, has affected many lives. And Todd, the Crown says they will review the decision on whether to appeal. Meanwhile, Colin Tweedie will be back in court on June 3rd for sentencing on a remaining count of obstructing a police officer, a charge he pleaded guilty to at the start of the trial.
Tell me about what it was like when the first not guilty verdict came in for Colin Tweedie back in 2022. Like that must have just been devastating for everybody.
Yeah, we were all heartbroken. And
was it a surprise?
Not really, because it happens a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
The judge made errors in the law, actually.
Yeah.
When doing the first trial, so.
And ultimately, that is what will lead to your second chance at justice for Talia, is the judge's errors, and they were significant errors in the original trial that will lead to the second chance at this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No, do you like in this period of time when the first not guilty verdict came in, there's a news clip that a lot of people have seen. I watched it several times myself, where Talia's mom, it seems like she's just walking out of the courtroom after hearing the not guilty verdict. And you see, when you watch the evening news, you see people talking about traumatic events or experiencing pain. But I just feel like this clip in particular, the moment they caught Talia's mom and asked her, it is just like devastated is an understatement. She's just like absolutely beside herself with agony.
I'm feeling very disgusted with the outcome, 18 months.
For the first time, the mother of 10-year-old Talia Forrest spoke publicly today about her daughter's death, just minutes after 30-year-old Colin Tweedie received 18 months probation on a charge of obstructing a police officer on the night Forrest died.
There's no justice here. There's no closure. There's no nothing. I'll never have closure.
Can you talk at all about what your family and what she would have been going through at the time that it was looking like this could be the end? And all he is getting is he got 18 months probation for obstructing an officer, and it was looking for a period of time that was all he was going to get. Do you remember what that was like? Is it anger, disappointment? Like what feelings come up?
She was very heartbroken. She didn't have any hope really with the justice system, and that's why I'm continuing to talk now and speak for her, because she didn't have hope when she found that out. Nobody did. But if you keep talking and you speak, stuff will change.
And it seems like the talking and the not giving up maybe did it, because it would have been pretty easy for, I think, the courts to just leave it there. It's not guilty. He's got 18 months probation. Let's move on. But maybe all that played a part in this, but ultimately the appeal court of Nova Scotia will look at the verdict in this case and the judge's decision, and they came to the decision themselves that the judge erred in several ways. Some of the errors were technical. Some had to do with, or one particular error had to do with how the judge calculated his level, Colin Tweedie's level of intoxication. Like, he eventually will give a breathalyzer, but it's like hours later, the middle of the night is when he gives the breathalyzer, and he was just a hair under the legal limit. But the actual incident with Talia happened hours earlier, and I guess the judge erred in how they calculated the effect that passage of time would have. Another thing that was interesting is the judge erred in not considering the concept of willful blindness. And that is the idea that you hit something and you say, oh, must have just been a deer, and continue on your merry way. And it's the idea that that trial would have happened with these kind of mistakes. A 10-year-old girl is killed and a judge is making these kind of fundamental errors is shocking and disturbing. But at least the appeal court can come in and say, no, we're going to have another go at this. And they will open the opportunity and require a second trial against Colin Tweedie on the same charges minus the obstruction, because he had already pled guilty and received his 18 months probation sentence for that. But let me ask you, do you recall the news coming out that we're getting a second chance at justice for Talia?
Yes, it was actually, I went up, me and Talia's mom and her family went up to the Nova Scotia Court of Appeal and went to actually hear it in person.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, we did. It was actually awesome.
I know in a regular courtroom you can't express emotion. I don't know if it's much different in an appeal court, but I think you would have a hard time not cheering when they came up with that decision. What was it like?
Yeah, it was only a few of us that traveled that time. I think it was Talia's mom, me, and a couple of her friends, but it was just like the feeling that we had a couple days ago.
Well, where we're at in the story here is we hear the appeal court makes the decision to retry the charges against Colin Tweedie. The second trial, and we're talking about fresh news now, the second trial just began about 2 months ago in March of 2024. At that point, your family had already been through so much. Losing Talia, of course, the worst part of all of it. The first trial and having to live through that, the disappointing end of the first trial, then I guess dealing with the appeal and having a bit of a win at the end of that, going into a second trial, having to redo this all again, must have just been, you want to get justice, of course, and get the right outcome, but it's hard to put yourself through one trial, let alone two, in the death of a 10-year-old girl. Like, tell me about the effect on your family to have to build themselves up for a second round of this.
It was really hard for them, but the second trial gave them hope as well. So that's why we're all standing strong.
Yeah.
Because it gives us hope that she will get justice in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we first heard the first not guilty, we were all lost hope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like of course your family feels this way, but Talia has so many supporters who seem to have kind of this, like, I think I can gauge the supporters better than your family because I can see it in plain day on the internet and in the comments on Facebook and whatnot. It seemed like going into the second one, hope was, or just the mood was a lot more like, we got it this time. The first trial was a mess. The appeal court shined a light on the mistakes, and now it's just time for us to kick ass in there, basically. Did it feel like you were going in to get the job done? Like, did you have a feeling that the second was going to end positively, or was there fear that it could all get screwed up again?
There was a bit of doubt, of fear,
Mm-hmm.
because we already lost it the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and I still had faith that we were going to get something out of it because they wouldn't just take it back for nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I did have doubts.
Yeah. And now the second trial would involve a lot of like emotional testimony. You hear Talia's young friend take the stand and describe what is an unimaginable experience with losing your friend in such a brutal way. But of all of the testimony, or I should also ask you though, the second trial, did you attend it all or portions of it? Like what portion?
Yeah, I was there for the whole second trial.
Okay.
I stayed the whole
Yeah.
time.
Of everything you've seen during the second trial presented in court, what did you think was like the most damning evidence against Colin Tweedie? Like, can you tell me maybe about something that was said or presented or testimony delivered where you said like, that's it, like, we got him with this?
Well, in the evidence, it doesn't show on the news that there's tons of beer cans that were found in a bag that was in his car,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the bunk back trunk of cooler full of liquor that was not opened as well.
So he had a cooler full of liquor in his trunk.
Yep.
Cans and bags of cans in his car. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the testimony? Like, what was it like to hear, the witnesses, the people who lived in the neighborhood who, heard or dealt with the aftermath of this? What was that like to hear in person?
Well, it's heartbreaking because this is the only way they knew Talia was from this tragic incident.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way they remember her is from the tragic incident. And it was hard for them to take the stand, but they did it as well to try to help get justice for Talia.
Mm-hmm.
And they would continue to do it to help get her justice like I am.
Yeah. And during the trial, you're in a room and, Colin Tweedie's here, sitting there, I'm assuming. I can only imagine what emotions are going through you, but what is it like seeing him in the room? And did he have to defend himself? And if so, what did he say? And how did you deal with that? Like, tell me about being in the room with him.
It's hard to be in the room with him. He doesn't show any remorse.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing at all. He doesn't look anywhere. He just stands straight and looks forward. He doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't show any remorse. It's hard to be in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But
so the trial over the last 2 months goes on. Was there any in the lead up of the trial happening and the verdict, was there any delay like after the Crown rested its case and the defense stopped before you heard the verdict? Like, was there any period of like waiting game that happened?
yeah, we had to wait 2 months for the verdict.
Wow. What was
And then
yeah.
It's hard, and then we have to wait a couple months now for the sentencing, right?
Yeah. So in the time waiting for the verdict, you're probably playing out the whole trial in your head. What was the feeling? Were you optimistic? Do you think it was like, did you feel like it was a win?
I felt like it was a win, yeah. The Crown did a good job doing the evidence and to get justice for Talia. He went through all the evidence right,
Mm-hmm.
like correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he did his job correct, and that's what got justice for Talia.
Tell me now about hearing the verdict. How did that happen? Did your family get together and go to court, or like, tell me about that moment?
We always meet up for court in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So hearing it was amazing. It's just a waiting game for him now just to be held accountable.
Oh my God, the Lord justice got served today.
It's been a long 5 years for the family of 10-year-old Talia Forrest. Today, they received the verdict they have been waiting to hear.
I'm extremely happy that he got found guilty today on all 3 counts.
It's been a while, almost 5 years of fighting for justice for Talia, and we just got it.
The fact that it's a second trial increases the pressure, but mostly it's the what's at stake, and what's at stake was justice for a little girl who died.
Well, obviously we're disappointed.
In reaching his decision, Justice Kevin Cody told the court that Tweedie's explanations to RCMP investigators following the crash didn't match up against the evidence. Tweedie told police he didn't stop because he thought he had hit a deer. Defense lawyer Tony Mozovic isn't ruling out the possibility of an appeal.
We're going to think about it, yeah. Just when the decisions were being read out, when the decision was being read out, there was a couple of issues that got my attention.
Outside the courthouse, while there was relief, Talia Forrest's family said their fight isn't over yet.
Closure, but not move on yet until he is in jail and is held accountable for what he's done, because he's still living freely right now.
Now that the judge has rendered his decision, Colin Tweedie has been released on conditions and will return here to Sydney Court on July 26th for sentencing.
Tell me about in the courtroom. What was like? Was there applause, cheering? Because
everyone was raised. Yeah,
and
everybody made up cheers.
I should also say, like, in contrast to the first trial, because it was in the news. So I'm not breaking any news here, but when the first verdict came in of not guilty, there was, like, I wouldn't say like almost a riot, but there was like security had to be involved in clearing the courtroom and whatnot after the first trial with a not guilty verdict. So tell me about the reaction in the room. I don't know if you even remember, but what happened when they're like guilty?
We all jumped up and we all hugged each other. Actually, we were hugging each other because we all sat close. We sit usually the same family sits, and then there's a community behind us. So we all just hugged right quick. But then we go out to the doors, and then all the cameras are there.
Yeah,
all the news people
and that's when you can kind of celebrate. Like, I guess it's hard to celebrate because it's, of course, you're dealing with the trial of the death of like your little sister, basically. So it's hard to celebrate, but it's also hard given everything you've gone through. I'm sure it's hard to not celebrate it.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's not over yet. Like you have the verdict you want, so you're well on your way to getting her justice. But as you said, the Crown wanted him held in custody until sentencing, but that didn't happen. So he is just like a free man now until sentencing. And do you have any idea when sentencing will happen?
Yes. I'm not sure if he's like out on conditions or anything, but he does have to go back July 26th at Sydney Supreme Court.
Okay. And that's when he'll learn, or when the decision will be presented as to what the sentence he'll serve
it will be.
Will be. And do you have any, like, I'm sure there's lawyers giving your family kind of like best guesses of what they're expecting, but do you have anything you're hoping for, or like any idea what could happen with the sentencing decision?
I don't think it's going to be the right sentencing we want. I don't think it's going to be the amount of time that we want.
Which I'm sure is just, you want the maximum allowed by law, I guess. But I feel like if there's ever a case that would warrant it, I don't know how you could have a worse case of impaired driving causing death than this one. And he pleads guilty to trying to hide the fact that he was even driving. He drives away dragging her bike. I feel like this is a case where they need to throw the book at this guy. And that's just as a member of the public who's looking on. If I just recount to someone the basics of this story, their jaw's going to be on the floor with like, how could this happen? And, how could the first judge get it wrong? I think that there should be pressure on the courts to deliver a strong message about impaired driving. And the way they can do it is with a sentencing decision related to the impaired driving causing death of a 10-year-old girl driving a bike down a rural road.
Yeah.
So I guess the next several months leading up to the July sentencing decision is going to be a waiting game for your family. But just in the way you answered the question, it kind of made me feel like you're not optimistic about a good decision. Are you is this like just kind of a gut feeling you have, or is this a mood around your family and your supporters?
Just myself, really. I don't know. I don't think that we're going to get what we want, but.
Okay, I understand. We've talked about your supporters, the community in the courtroom, the Justice for Talia movement on TikTok and across social media. What role has the public played in holding, our legal system to the fire? And, and what role has the community and your supporters played in even just making your family feel better? Maybe talk a bit about that.
They are a huge help and advocate to help. I get a lot of messages and I get a lot of support throughout the years. It definitely helps with the court process and everything.
Now, for people who want to support Talia and yourself and your family, what can we do? Like, what can someone listening to this do to help the courts make the right decision or help your family feel better in any way? Is there anything we can do?
Maybe supporting by being at the court when the courts are. So July 26th, we could use all the support we could get, as well as following the Justice for Talia TikTok and joining the private Facebook Justice for Talia group as well.
The Facebook is called Justice for Talia as well?
Yeah.
I'll include like links to all that and what I do, so people listening can just open the description for the episode and find links directly to this stuff. Let me ask you this: so we talked about the Justice for Talia Facebook and TikTok. You're the one who manages the at least the TikTok. What led to using TikTok and social media as a way to get it out there? Like, what led you to take this route?
No, just the way she was makes me want to speak for her.
Yeah.
Just how loved she was and how much she loved her family and everybody around her. It's just made me want to speak for her because that's what she would want.
I want to thank you for joining Halen and I for this episode of Nighttime. Before I end here, I want to invite anyone moved by this story to join the Justice for Talia Facebook community to show your support. Given the upcoming sentencing hearing, Talia and her loved ones could certainly use it. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up this episode, but before I do, I'm going to end with thanks. First, a big thanks to Halen for sharing her story with me and with you, the listeners of Nighttime. A big shout out to Monty Data, who contributed the music for this episode, and LJ from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides the intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening to Nighttime, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to the Nighttime Podcast's premium feed. Jeff, Corey, and David, I appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can help us out here in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple dollars a month, and that money funds the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those new episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Nighttime episodes. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the growth and creation of this show by simply sharing this episode on social media and letting all your like-minded friends know when they should listen. Your support in this is very much appreciated. Now, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
The Nighttime Podcast is written, hosted, and produced by Jordan Bonaparte.